Back in 1991, two bands were at the top of the heap in the world of rock and metal, Guns N' Roses and Metallica. In August of that year, Metallica released their groundbreaking, monumental, self-titled fifth record, aka the Black Album, to extreme success. The album was produced by Bob Rock after the band heard Motley Crue's Dr. Feelgood, released back in 1989, and were impressed with his work. That record, of course, is still a huge hit to this day, going platinum 16 times over, and in 2019 set a record for being only the fourth album in history to stay on the Billboard 200 for a consecutive 550 weeks, behind only Pink Floyd's Dark Side of the Moon, Bob Marley and the Wailers' Legend, and Journey's Greatest Hits. But those last two are compilations, though, so if you're taking into account studio albums only, then the Black Album is only the second record in history to ever achieve that feat. In that same year, Guns N' Roses, still hot on the heels of one of the greatest debuts and best-selling albums of all time, Appetite for Destruction, which came out just a few years prior in 1987, released their monumental double album, Use Your Illusion 1 and 2. While a bit of a departure from Appetite stylistically, between both Illusions, the band released some of their biggest hits and, in my opinion, some of their best songs ever, although some of those fall a little bit under the radar in the grand scheme of things. For reference, at this moment in time, 6 out of their top 10 songs on Spotify are from Use Your Illusion, an equal split between both. The following year, in 1992, the two bands teamed up for a monumental, now infamous, summer stadium tour throughout North America, bringing along Faith No More's support. This was, of course, after Nirvana famously declined the opportunity, and Faith No More were touring in support of their latest album, Angel Dust, which was released about a month prior to the tour's kickoff, after they had achieved mainstream success on their 1989 release, The Real Thing, which is their first album with singer Mike Patton. Motorhead and Ice-T's Body Count also supported on select dates at the end of the run. The tour was riddled with drama from the beginning, mostly on Guns' side, but everything came to a screeching halt just a few weeks into the run when James Hetfield stepped onto a flame pod during Metallica's set and suffered severe burns. So today, we're going to take a look at this infamous incident and the aftermath that followed. In May of 1992, a press conference was held in Los Angeles with Slash and Lars Ulrich announcing the tour, which was set to begin in Washington, D.C. on July 17th. However, upon the announcement, there were a number of people already speculating that this tour would never happen due to Axl's legal issues, as in the summer prior, July of 91, Guns was performing in St. Louis when the legendary Riverport Riot, aka the Rocket Queen Riot, erupted upon Axl spotting someone in the crowd with a camera. Security did nothing, so Axl famously decided to take matters into his own hands, jumping into the crowd to confront the guy with the camera, and then returning to the stage only to berate security before slamming his mic onto the ground and exiting the stage, effectively ending the show.
Hey, take that, now get that guy and take that. I'll take it, goddammit. Well, thanks to the lame-ass security, I'm going home.
This, of course, incited a 3-hour-long riot with dozens of people getting injured. However, police were not able to arrest Axl until nearly a year later, as the band had already gone overseas to continue touring. Although charges were filed against him for inciting a riot, they were dismissed when a judge ruled that he did not directly incite the riot. However, the fan that confronted Axl, William Stevenson, filed a lawsuit against him seeking over $200,000 in damages, but this eventually was settled for only $160,000 and an autograph. Talk about adding insult to injury. Quick sidebar, the band actually refers to this incident in the thank you section of the liner notes for the Illusion albums, saying, "Fuck you, St. Louis." The band was also banned from the city for quite a while, only returning in 2017 on their Not in This Lifetime tour. The incident did not affect the stadium tour with Metallica, though, with things properly kicking off July 17th at the now defunct RLK Stadium in Washington, D.C., which is actually set to be demolished as early as this year, 2023. Aside from some sound issues, the first 2 shows went off without a hitch, but by the 3rd show in Pontiac, Michigan, things slowly started to fall apart. During GNR's performance of You Could Be Mine, Axl allegedly puked on stage and then walked off, coming back shortly afterwards to apologize, and then the band performed the song all over again. Axl's issues continued a week later at Giant Stadium in New Jersey when he was supposedly having excessive pain in his throat, but the band did continue the performance until they launched into Knockin' on Heaven's Door. While the band was playing the song, an audience member supposedly threw a lighter up on stage, hitting Axl in the nuts. This, of course, upset him, so he exited the stage with bassist Duff McKagan finishing the vocals for the song, which ultimately turned out to be the end of the set for GNR. The following day, an off date on that tour, Axl was diagnosed with severe damage to his vocal cords and told by doctors that he could not sing for at least a week, ultimately causing the next 3 shows to be postponed. By this time into the tour, tensions were already running high, as according to Slash in his 2007 memoir, GNR lost roughly 80% of their income throughout the duration of the tour due to Axl extravagantly spending, mostly due to the over-the-top, lavish after-show backstage parties every night, supposedly in an effort to impress Metallica. They also incurred quite a few hefty fines due to them showing up hours late on a number of dates and breaking city curfew. There's also footage out there of James Hetfield mocking Axl's dressing room rider. While I'm not entirely sure if it's meant to be taken as insulting or just goofing, it's absolutely hilarious regardless. Here's a quick clip to check out.
Axl pose, dressing room requirements. Absolutely no substitutions. 1 cup of cubed ham, not fucking, it's got to be cubed up fucking right so it'll get down his little neck. 1 ribeye steak dinner, didn't even know the guy ate meat, looked like a fucking vegetarian. 1 gourmet cheese tray, pepperoni pizza fresh. I think that, it's fucking just for throwing around.
I don't know anything, man.
Cans of assorted Pringles chips, greasy shit. I guess. Puts his hair back and all. Sous vide honey can make some sick like this. Oh, bottle of Dom Perignon. I'll eat you. There you go. That's where the money's at right there. Just fucking crap. Bunch of hooey.
The tour would eventually resume about a week later on August 8th at Olympic Stadium in Montreal, but would end in tragedy. Roughly halfway through Metallica's set, they began to play the intro to Fade to Black, with Hetfield saying, quote, "I'm up there playing the part and all these colored flames are going off. I'm a little confused on where I should be. I walk forward, I walk back. The pyro guy doesn't see that I've walked back there, and whoosh, colored flame goes up right under me. I'm burnt, all my arm, my hand completely down to the bone. The side of my face, hair is gone. Part of my back, I watched the skin just rising, things going wrong." Of course, Hetfield received immediate medical attention, but the show must go on, right? Almost 55,000 people were in attendance, eagerly awaiting GNR to take the stage. Literal hours would go by until eventually Guns took the stage. While Axl had the opportunity to be the hero of the night and help make up for Metallica's shortened set, less than an hour into their set, 55 minutes according to some sources, just 15 from other sources, and 12 songs in according to Setlist FM, the band was already finished, with Axl yet again complaining of voice issues and monitor problems. When talking with MTV, Slash said, quote, "The PA fed back the entire time. The monitors fed back the entire time. The crowd was like non-existent." He also added, "Montreal was just really creepy. Nothing against the people of Montreal. We had a great time hanging out there. I think it was the building itself." Axl also had this to add. "We had just stopped the tour because I had throat problems. Came back and I realized I'm going to hurt myself. I told Slash 2 more songs. If we can't get it fixed, I got to go. We did more than 2 more songs, and finally I was just like, I don't know what to do. I looked over and Gilby was like, dude, I can't hear. And Duff was like, I can't hear either. We had a little huddle and we were like, we're out of here." This, of course, sent the crowd into a frenzy, with over 2,000 concertgoers beginning to riot, upending light posts, overturning police cars, looting the stadium, the whole bit. The police showed up in full riot gear, using tear gas and eventually calming things down. All told, there were multiple injuries between police and the crowd, at least a dozen arrests, and a whopping $500,000 in property damages. To make things worse, Metallica was unable to leave the venue due to the rioting. According to Jason Newsted in the band's Behind the Music episode, upon the band returning backstage and after Guns had already finished their set, Axl was casually sitting down smoking a cigarette, using a cigarette holder, lest we forget, and drinking a glass of champagne, calmly stating that he was having issues with his voice. Cigarettes and champagne? That'll do the trick. The tour did eventually continue a couple of weeks later, with Metal Church's John Marshall, who was teching for Metallica at the time, filling in on guitar for James, but obviously he has since recovered. Faith No More eventually dropped off the tour, but not before Mike Patton had the opportunity to take a piss on Axl's teleprompter due to being treated poorly throughout the entire tour. It's also worth noting that U2 performed in Montreal just a few weeks after the incident, with Bono poking fun at Axl Rose on stage. A few songs into their show, he looked at the crowd saying, quote, "What time is it? We gotta go." So there's U2 throwing some shade at GNR. All right, though, I gotta run. My fiance wants to pretend that she is Mike Patton and I'm the teleprompter, so I gotta go. But Happy New Year, and thanks so much for watching. Feel free to subscribe if you want to see more, and I will see you next time.